as it's a new day, so it's time for the Daily Basis. Hooray! It's been a while since we've got to do that.
That looks like Tropicana Field. When we took the graphic, it looks a little bit like it. I don't know.
Graphic again.
Not Lone Depot? Play it again. Play it again. Lone Depot.
Let's see.
That's going to look like a Trop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's outdoors. Or is that like a very gray sky?
Yeah.
It was very overcast.
Very overcast. It seemed like a game would not be played on that field. Anyway, as we do our jobs here, all right, here on the early line, we'll try to actually talk some baseball now. Craig, you could argue the hottest team in all the bigs, that's the Houston Astros. Winners yesterday up in Toronto 3-1. Make that 10 victories in the last 11 for the Stros. At the start of June, 8 games below 500. At the start of July, and now into its second day, 2 games above 500 for the first time this year, 43-41. How did Houston flip the switch?
Look, they're playing much better, hitting a little bit better, Ben. When I look up and down their lineup, it's still nowhere near as formidable as it was in the past. A lot of that has to do with Kyle Tucker not playing, obviously, but, no Correa, sometimes no Altuve. It just depends on the day for them, and they're still not scoring a lot of runs. So naturally, they're digging into their farm system and calling kids up, and they're getting good pitching. The bullpen seems to be a little bit solidified. But it does feel like maybe this is an Astros victory by default. That's not to take anything away from them. But the Texas Rangers have just been awful, and so the bottom of that division with Oakland, and I know LA's played a little bit better, but without those teams really in contention, it's kept the Astros in the game, and that's really all you can ask for. I'll be curious to see what they do in a few weeks. It's a dynamic where, again, this season, it looks like you could get a couple of playoff teams in the AL and the NL with just 83 or 84 wins, or maybe even less. So maybe Houston keeps alive and still has that shot.
Yeah, plus 145 price now, Craig, to win the AL West, which is insanity, talking about just where those Mariners were just a few short weeks ago, letting some other teams back into the equation. Let's get to some of the big, young, bright spots here in Major League Baseball. What could be? James Wood's debut yesterday with the Nationals. How about this? Does get a base hit, does get a walk. But let me ask you this question. The expectations coming up for Wood, and also, what are the expectations for him with the Nationals? Will he stay in the majors with them?
He's arguably been one of the best hitters in all of minor league baseball the last couple of years. So, Donnie, it's an impossible question for me to answer as to whether or not he clicks immediately or he clicks in a month or 2 or 3 or even next season. Some guys come up, they're immediately fantastic. Others, it takes some time. Look, the expectation is that Wood will be good right away, and they also have a lot of other young kids coming on the way too. Dylan Cruz is another one that they got in that Juan Soto trade. I think the bottom line, when you look at it, it maybe isn't as much Wood as it's the fact that it was so unpopular at the time when the Nationals traded Juan Soto. I mean, we could go back. We could, if we were doing a show and I was coming on during that time, the media was just absolutely crushing Washington for making that move. Meanwhile, good by the Yankees to get Juan Soto. It's going to push them maybe to the postseason this year. But what are the Padres doing on a year-to-year basis, right? Like, it's really hard to figure out which direction they're going to go. They got Michael King back in return for Soto, but San Diego, in a way, has set up the Washington Nationals for the future, and their future may be as soon as next year. They're right back where they need to be.
Dylan Cruz, a national champ at LSU. James Wood, an AB in his first MLB career at bat, or he got a base knock in that first AB. Came off the bat exit velo of 107 miles per hour, something of the sort. You mentioned Juan Soto on the Yanks, but it's really Aaron Judge leading everybody in Major League Baseball in the major offensive stat categories. Tied for the second best batting average at 316, most home runs 31, most RBIs in MLB as well with 82. Craigie hit 62 home runs 2 seasons ago. Or was it last season? No, 2 seasons ago. Is he on pace to do something historic once again?
Yeah, health is going to be the key with him, and I think he's got a chance. I know we were doing this yesterday on Newswire. He's plus money to hit over 60, and also there's even a bigger number to hit 64, 65. So, yeah, he certainly has a chance. But, Ben, when it comes to futures like this, you're always going to bet against it, and you're going to bet against health. It doesn't matter who the player is. No indictment on Judge. He's probably has to play 155 games or 152 games to get there. So I would bet against that just because it's the nature of sports. Players get hurt. Not rooting for that, but I would say no, he does not get there this year.
Plus 230 for Aaron Judge to hit 60 or more home runs this year on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Quickly here, Craig, we look at a series in the American League. The M's on a slide. The Orioles trying to keep pace atop the American League East. They start this showdown today in the Northwest. What can we expect from this set?
Yeah, tight game, I think, throughout. As you can see, two good pitchers, low total, 7.5, coin flip game. Not just going to throw a pick at anybody. All I have to say at this point about the Mariners is it is put up or shut up time here to make a deal in a couple of weeks. Yeah. You got that fan base ready for the postseason. You're right there to get in. This has to be the team to get aggressive, I think, at the deadline.
Craig Mish, we appreciate the time here on this Tuesday on the daily basis. We'll see you tomorrow for a Wednesday before the holiday weekend around the Biz. A ton of Major League Baseball breakdowns coming your way in this final half hour of this Tuesday on the early line. After only 3 games around the diamond yesterday, we've got 15. That's a full card for Donnie Rightside to get you set for. We start with a divisional duel and a playoff rematch from a season ago where Arizona got the better of L.A. It's the D-backs in downtown L.A. tonight at the Ravine to take on the Dodgers. And the Dodgers expected to have a little payback here in the regular season. Greater than a $2 favorite, minus 205 for L.A. tonight, over under at 8.5. What do you like, DRS?
Yeah, typical temperatures in Los Angeles, 73 degrees, light wind blowing out to center field at Chavez Ravine. But also, you take a look at that lineup for the Dodgers tonight, going up against Ryan Nelson, who's a right-handed batter. It matches up very well. Now, let's take a look at Ryan Nelson on the mound. Over the past 60 days, we take a look at his pitching performance. 52 and a third innings pitched. How about this? A 6.02 ERA and a 4.72 xFIP number. So rightfully, he should be able to get hit around. And if you are looking at an RBI chance or a chance to hit a home run, like on Dinger Tuesday, take a look at Shohei Ohtani. 78 at-bats he's had against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. A 477 ISO power number and a 491 weighted on base percentage. I believe last week I was like, I'm not taking like a plus 182 price to hit a home run. I'll go for the 2 RBI. Ohtani leads the game off with a home run and then gets his second RBI later in that game, so it worked out in my favor. Yeah. But also Freddie Freeman, another left-handed batter, 254 ISO and a 422 weighted on base percentage. Those are the guys that I would focus on. And also, maybe don't leave out Jason Hayward down that lineup, who will probably bat 6. 73 at bats as a left-handed batter against right-handed pitching over the past month, a 233 ISO and a 360 weighted on base percentage. But as I bring up the offense here for the Dodgers, we might get some pretty good offense tonight for the Arizona Diamondbacks, because Bobby Miller, through his 87 batters he's faced on the season, he's got a combined 227 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 387. The first 6 batters we anticipate in the lineup today for the Arizona Diamondbacks, take a look at these weighted on base percentages. Again, 320 or higher is where you want to be. 344, 401, 336, 343, 336, 349. So not bad conditions there as well. Maybe a total makes the most sense. I think both of these teams will hit tonight out there in Los Angeles.
8.5. The over has the juice as of this moment. A very long time, nearly 12 hours until this game gets started out in Los Angeles. To the friendly confines at Wrigley Field, we go next with baseball's best team, the Philadelphia Phillies. The most wins in all the bigs, 55. The best record, 55 and 29. So tell me, DRS, why are the Phils a road underdog in Chicago?
Yeah, because you're getting a pitcher on the mound that you don't know what you're going to anticipate. But if you are just going by minor league starts, Mercado has been very good in the minor leagues. But again, that's AAA. That's not major leagues. That's not showing up at Wrigley Field in 80-degree temperatures in July with the wind blowing out double digits to left field. Guys are going to respond differently to that type of equation. But also, Wisniewski isn't a great pitcher. However, if we just take a look at the home starts, because typically you always like those home-away splits where guys who pitch the majority of the time, let's just say at Wrigley Field or, Fenway Park or even out in Colorado. Wisniewski's got 26 and 2/3 innings pitched at home this year, Ben. A 3.38 ERA, very manageable. An xFIP, which isn't disastrous, at 4.07, and a Phillies lineup that is certainly limping here. If you are looking for RBI opportunities, and there will be some tonight because of the conditions that we have at Wrigley, Bohm, Marsh, and Castellanos in the middle of that lineup, and even David Dahl, through his last 45 at-bats as a left-handed hitter going up against right-handed pitching, a 262 ISO and a 354 weighted on base percentage. Now, I just told you here about Wisniewski's 338 ERA and a 4.07 xFIP number. The XFIP number is that analytical number that we like to take a look at. But let's take a look at what he's actually doing in game play here. Through his last 50 at-bats that he's faced, this is crazy. An ISO of 439 and a weighted on base percentage of 412. So basically, those last 50 batters, it's like, you know what? First base, second base, third base, home run, whatever you want, you can come take this. It's an interesting spot for the Philadelphia Phillies, but I was ready, to be honest, Ben, on Sunday afternoon, down 6-2 to send that tweet out that said, I'll catch the Phillies in August. I'm not dealing with this. So it's hard for me to say, like, ooh, the Marlins should have taken 3 or 4 from the Philadelphia Phillies. Now I like them on the road with a guy who's probably never started a Major League Baseball game going up against the Chicago Cubs. It's hard to back this. So again, maybe we just go with an over in this situation.
9.5 is that total. The Phil's a little bit shorthanded, as the rest laid out for you there. But the Cubbies also struggling in the month of June. 11-16 overall. They have dropped 6 of their last 8 now entering the month of July. Now we go to Atlanta, where the Philadelphia Phillies still have an 8-game advantage in the National League East over the Braves, despite Atlanta being a hefty home favorite today against the San Francisco Giants. Atlanta the better team, and Reynaldo Lopez the better pitcher. He is 6-2 this year with a 1.70 ERA, making the start for the Braves. That 1.70 ERA would be the best in MLB, but Reynaldo Lopez has thrown less than 80 innings, so he doesn't hit the minimum requirement as of yet. Still a strong starter and a strong price in favor of the Braves.
Yeah, let's call it minus 190 as a favorite. I don't think the Atlanta Braves should ever be that high as a favorite. And even the Philadelphia Phillies now, with how many injuries they have. Heck, we even saw, I believe, the Philadelphia Phillies on the same day with the Atlanta Braves as minus 300 favorites or higher, both lose games on that same day. Not necessarily because their pitching breaks down. They just don't have enough hitting. It's one thing to have a dominant pitcher on the mound and a running lineup that's going to score 5 to 6 runs on a night-to-night basis. Those are the guys that you take a look at. Say, okay, I'll spend that high numbers at a minus 2-1 price because I feel that I'm getting more bang for my buck at the plate and also on the mound. Let's take a look at Hayden Burnsong here for the San Francisco Giants. Only 22 batters faced here in Major League Baseball. He wasn't a great pitcher, by the way, in the minor league system, but it does leave a lot to be desired where you could say, you know what? I'm just going to bet against him because I don't really know. Sometimes the unknown can catch you, and he hasn't been around Major League Baseball a lot. He gets away, Ben, with what? 4 1/3, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and you'll take that start every single time. But here's the fact that you want to go into it. Reynaldo Lopez has been absolutely spectacular, as you pointed out this season. So who am I to say now this is going to be the downfall game? It's almost like we're waiting, like Luis Gil struggling with the New York Yankees after being one of the most filthy pitchers in Major League Baseball. Aren't we waiting on that for Reynaldo Lopez? But you can't bet that way because even his analytical stats are still very good overall. A 1.11 over the last 60 days ERA, but still a 3.48 xFIP number, which is very manageable here. I do think Atlanta will win this game, but having said that, it's a game I'm going to bypass because I'm not laying that high of a price with Atlanta, and I'm not trusting a younger pitcher on the road in Atlanta today for the San Francisco Giants.
So as we go with a central focus up next, the St. Louis Cardinals on the road in Pittsburgh taking on the Buccos. The Cards, the only other team outside of the Brewers that have a winning record in the National League Central. But the Pirates booked as a favorite today at home, minus 124. Total is 8.5. What's the play inside PNC Park?
Taking a look at 2 pitchers here that have actually done well for themselves here in 2024. You look here at the Pittsburgh Pirates, Mitch Keller on the mound, a 163 ISO and a 311 weighted on base percentage, which is very good here over the past 108 batters that he's faced. The one thing that we know about that St. Louis Cardinals lineup, boy, sometimes it gets really hot, sometimes it's not at this point. And right now, against right-handed pitching over the past month, they haven't done all that much damage. Alec Burleson might be on your card today for an RBI. Brendan Donovan might be on there, as well as Nolan Gorman, because you want to take a look at that left-handed matchup against that right-handed pitcher. Now let's flip it over to the other side and take a look at Kyle Gibson. One of those guys you don't factor on being a very good pitcher, just a middle-of-the-road type of guy. But if you take a look at his past 30 days, how about his ISO power number through 96 batters, Ben? An 0.95, a weighted on base percentage of 288. If we're taking a look at his total statistics, let me just see his road splits here right now to see if I can bring him up fairly quickly at this point. He's at the top 5 today, which is a 2.68 ERA over 43 2/3 innings on the road this season, and an xFIP of 3.86. We're probably looking at an under between these two. 82 degrees, wind blowing in. I'll go under in this game, that 8.5. I don't know if we see 9.
8.5 is that total. St. Louis was good in June to get back above 500, 43-40. They still trail Milwaukee by 6 games. The Brew Crew got beat in extras last night inside Coors Field against the Rockies. Pittsburgh only 3 games below 500, 40-43. Not often a favorite, unless Paul Skeens is on the bump, but the favored side at home today, minus 124 against St. Louis. Plenty more MLB breakdowns and best bets come your way up next, live right here on the Early Line. More MLB breakdowns here on the show as we go around Major League Baseball on a full slate Tuesday. The Mariners need to stop the bleeding. Seattle has dropped 8 of its last 11 games, and hot on its heels, the Houston Astros, who have won 10 of their last 11. Now only a 3-game difference. Seattle still in first in the American League West, but only 3 games separate the M's and the Stros. Seattle hosts the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Northwest. And when Craig Mish was here, it was the same story. Minus 108 now on both sides. It's a pick'em who wins the opener out in Seattle.
Yeah, it's really a toss-up. It just goes to the matter of like which lineup you trust more. It's probably going to be the Baltimore Orioles. But having said that, we are playing in one of the true pitching environments in Major League Baseball up at T-Mobile. You take a look at that total at 7.5. Means it takes 8 runs to beat you. Most times across Major League Baseball, you're probably going to get that. 72 degrees in Seattle, 5-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field. It's not really going to make too much of a difference here for good and or for bad. But if we take a look at these pitchers, if we line up past 60 days, minimum of 20 innings. I got 25 pitchers rated today. And this isn't split-wise, right, where you say like home and road. Let's just take a look at the pitchers of how they've been doing together. You take a look at George Kirby, 4th on the card, 2.96 ERA, an xFIP of 3.44. You know his number 5? It's Grayson Rodriguez. Right behind him, a 3.72 ERA, but a 3.52 xFIP. Both of these guys in pretty good form. Feels like a playoff type of atmosphere. So for my money here, both of these lineups, let me just take a quick peek here at that Baltimore lineup of what we can anticipate. Now, here's where it comes into what you're going to trust. And this is what I like. Sometimes you say, ooh, maybe that 7.5 could be in a little bit of doubt from Baltimore's range. George Kirby has been fantastic. I told you that. Last 30 days, a 117 batters he's faced, Ben, a 115 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 236. Let me just take a quick look here at his home splits here for George Kirby. Still fantastic. A 2.34 ERA and a 3.19 xFIP number, which even lowers at home. Rightfully so. It's a pitcher's environment. But how about this? We talk about that ISO power number, which means one swing of the bat, you could do damage. Double in the gap, triple, home run. You get the picture here. Driving the baseball. 170 is that number. I'm going to read you the 9 guys in the lineup tonight that we anticipate and what their ISO power numbers against right-handed pitching are over the past 30 days. Henderson, 370, Rutschman 203, O'Hearn 183, Santander 390, Kjerstad 538, Westberg 237, Kowser 255, Mullins 242, and Urias 217. Every single in the batter tonight absolutely mashes right-handed pitching. So I would have a lean here to the Baltimore Orioles, but still thinking this game possibly stays under the total. That's tough, though. That's as good a lineup as you're going to see just against a righty split for a baseball team over the past 30 days.
Low total in that pitcher's ballpark, only 7 out in the Northwest, but maybe some RBI props to get us close to the over-under. Just across the parking lot from Arrowhead Stadium, where the United States men's national team had a disastrous Monday night, the Royals pick up play in the month of July at Kauffman Stadium, hosting the Rays. KCA home favorite tonight against Tampa. Both of these clubs, though, ended the month of June better than it began. KC won its final 2 series, including taking 3 of 4 from the red-hot Guardians this weekend against Cleveland. They had dropped 11 of 14 prior to their last 2. They've now won 5 of 7. The Rays hovering around 500 again, an even 42-42 mark entering July. What gives tonight in KC?
85 degrees, double-digit winds blowing out the dead center field. That is going to help us. Now, hear me out on this, because you do have a Tampa Bay Rays lineup that does project decently against right-handed pitchers. But let's take a look at Brady Singer here and focus on the last 30 days. It's been a little bit elevated for him. 119 batters he's faced, a 193 ISO, which is high, and a weighted on base percentage of 339, which is high. Left-handed batters doing all the damage against him. He's very good against right-handed batters. So if we take a look at some of the lefties in the lineup, Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, I always love that Lowe and Lau on the same team here. Both of those guys are elevated with legitimate chances. But hear me out on this. This is where the game is going to be won. We know how much of a pitching environment you get down in Tampa Bay. granted, this game is in Kansas City. Look at Singer at home this season, Ben. 54 and 2/3 innings pitched. How about a 2.80 ERA and a 3.05 xFIP number? The reason I wanted to bring up that split is because now we can take a look on the opposite side with Littell on the mound and how he's been handling his situations outside of the friendly pitching confines. He's got a 5.13 ERA through 33 and a third innings pitched on the road and an xFIP number of 4.29. Now, if we're taking a look at some of the batters in that lineup for Kansas City, we got good ones here. How about this? 7 of the 9 batters today, all positives here with weighted on base percentage and ISO power numbers. Our guy Bobby Witt, 236 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 363. Vinny P, 213 ISO, 362 weighted on base percentage. My guy Michael Massey, even though it's only 12 at-bats that he's had against right-handed pitching since coming back off of the IL, a 364 ISO and a 415 weighted on base percentage. Hunter Renfroe, one of those guys you never hear from. How about this, Ben? 44 at-bats against right-handed pitchers over the past 30 days, a 395 ISO and a 494 weighted on base percentage. The Royals are the better play tonight. We'll probably get some runs and RBI opportunities aplenty from those Kansas City Royals. Pretty good looking squad tonight.
Let's see the Pasquatch go big to start off July.
Yeah,
it would make my heart sing. The
Yeah.
Kansas City Royals, of course, a member of the American League Central. 3 teams in the division, including KC, who is 8 games above 500, have a winning record. Cleveland in front, still by 6 games, 7-game lead over KC. That 6-game advantage over Minnesota. Good American League Central duel tonight in the Twin Cities. The Twins, a home favorite at -120, but on the other side, the American League Cy Young frontrunner, that's Tarek Skubal for Detroit. Sensational in his last start after 2 bad ones by Skubal's standards prior in June. In his last start last week against Philadelphia, 7 innings of shutout work, 7 Ks. He's 9-3 this year with a 2.32 ERA. What do you like tonight in Minnesota?
Look, warm weather in Minnesota tonight, 76 degrees, 7-mile-an-hour winds blowing out in the pitcher's ballpark here. But here's the issue, again, that you're going to run up against. You take a look at that Minnesota Twins lineup that has been on fire against left-handed pitching over the past 30 days. Outside of Miranda, Jeffers, and Farmer, everybody else. I'm talking about 263, 450, 200, 471, 294, and 400 ISO power numbers against left-handed pitching over the past month. However, it's not just your standard left-handed pitcher, carbon copy. This is Tarek Skubal, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. So you're going to have to iron that one out for yourself. The one thing I do know, Simeon Woods Richardson isn't a great pitcher, but that lineup he's going against for Detroit is absolutely terrible. Let's just say Tarek Skubal is in form tonight. This game probably is going to stay under the total.
More MLB bets and a best one of them all up next on the early line. One final game to break down for you, but plenty on this Tuesday card around Major League Baseball. The San Diego Padres playing some really good ball to end out the month of June, now above 500. The only other team in the National League West outside of the Dodgers that has a winning mark. The Padres lost their final game in June against the Red Sox, unable to sweep the Boston Red Sox, but they have still won 9 of their last 11 entering July. Tonight, they get a team in Texas who was struggling to end out that month of June, trying to look like the World Series winners from a year ago. Virtual pick'em, Dylan Cease gets the start for San Diego. Nathan Eovaldi on the other side for Texas. Should be a good one in Arlington. What do you think happens?
Yeah, what if I told you, like, Luis Arias is one of the worst hitters right now, projectable tonight, going up against Nathan Eovaldi? You wouldn't believe it, but there's some other guys that can really get after, which includes Jackson Merrill. My goodness, the young center fielder batting from the left side, 58 at-bats he's had against right-handed pitching over the past month. How about if I gave you a 364 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 530? He probably will be in the mix. But if we're taking a look at the pitching matchup, technically it's pretty good here, and rightfully so on San Diego's side. If we just take a look at overall splits, take away home and away for the past 60 days, the number one pitcher on the card today, it's Dylan Cease at a 4.45 ERA. Say, how can that guy be the best? Because his xFIP number is 2.83, which means he's getting a lot of unluckiness, and you might be getting value now in Cease. So then you want to say, like, well, is he a better pitcher at home and away, and where are those splits going to affect him here? No, he's the number one pitcher on the card today in totality and also at home with an ERA of 3.66 and an xFIP number of 2.98. He's been really good. If we're taking away some of those road splits here with Nathan Eovaldi, climbs up a little bit. ERA number on the road this year through 28 and a third innings pitched. How about this? A 5.40. But his xFIP is a little bit lower at 4.22. But the pitching advantage with Dylan Cease at home at this point. If we're taking a look at that Texas lineup, it's not all that great. outside of Josh Smith and Adolis Garcia, everybody else is below the median on ISO power number, for that matter, weighted on base percentage. So the better team for me on the mound and at the plate, it's going to be San Diego for me. I'll take Dylan Cease and San Diego money line here.
I think the Padres get the edge in what is a very short price on that money line and very short distinction between the two sides. The Rangers scored 11 runs to avoid a sweep against Baltimore to end out that 4-game set in Camden. They only won one of those 4 games. Wyatt Langford, the rookie, hit for the first cycle this year in Major League Baseball for Texas. But they entered that game against the O's on a 6-game losing skid. To end out June, they dropped 11 of 16 games to the reigning World Series champs, the Rangers. It has not been a great title defense for Texas so far this season. 2 weeks exactly from today. That's the MLB All-Star Game, the Midsummer Classic. It is a 2-week stretch through July 4th weekend and all that follows to really figure things out with the trade deadline not all that far after the break at the end of this month of July. So before we say farewell and goodbye on this Tuesday, on July 2nd, we give you a best bet. It is time for Bye Bye Bye. Donnie, plenty to choose from tonight around Major League Baseball. What is your best bet?
Yeah, usually it's an RBI shot, or maybe it's just a side or a total tonight. We're going to go with the Kansas City Royals. We're going to keep it aside here at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, minus 118 price on the money line. I think they're the better team because I do think I have the better pitcher on the mound who's been very good at home. Hittable conditions tonight, yes, I understand that, but I think I have the better lineup with Kansas City, as I explained earlier. Maikel Garcia, Nick Lofton, the only 2 guys in that lineup tonight over the past 30 days that haven't hit right-handed pitching all that well. The rest of the lineup is a full go here. And take a look at Zach Littell, which is typical. You play in a pitcher's ballpark at home, maybe you don't do so well on the road, particularly in an environment that we're going to have 85 degrees and double-digit winds blowing out in a hitter's ballpark. Give me the Kansas City Royals to win this game tonight. I'll take them on the money line at a pretty good price.
Love the look at minus 118. Love Brady Singer on the bump. And let's get our guy, Vinny Pasquantino, into the scorer's book with an RBI or 2 tonight for Kansas City.